Hello. I like to discuss a concept that I can't say I created it, but I would like to build on it. And the concept is simple. Starts out simple. You know, there are really two people in the world, uh, and I'll use the example of money. There are people that chase money and people that money chases. And you can say that there are people that chase women and there are people that women chase. I would say George Clooney doesn't chase women. Women chase him. He has them falling down at his feet, or he used to. Now that he's married, I'm sure it makes things complicated, but I'm sure it still happens. And he has a hard life in that realm. I had it too. When I was younger, girls would chase me. I didn't chase them. And when I worked in the city, I would travel to the city on the subway, and I would talk to the most beautiful women in the world that were on the subway. And nobody on the train would talk to them. I was the only one that had the balls to walk up to them and talk. And I wasn't chasing them. I wasn't trying to pick them up. I was just having a nice conversation. I knew they had a boyfriend. It wasn't even a question in my mind. And I wasn't trying to steal them away. But they they would talk to me and we'd have good conversations. And anytime they saw me on the train, they would come up to me and have a conversation. And they wouldn't just ignore me. Now, the other passengers on the train were mad that I was talking to them because uh, they were afraid to talk to them, and I wasn't. And that the economy was obvious. And whatever. Now, that was just uh, a metaphor for chasing and being chased. Uh, Beautiful women usually don't chase men, just like George Clooney doesn't chase women. Uh, they get chased. And I had to stop. Like I said, I worked in the city in Manhattan, and I had to stop going to the city in Manhattan on the subway. I had to drive in, park, pay for parking, because when I took the subway into the city, I would have girls crying on the subway because for whatever reason, I wouldn't talk to them. Uh, I ignored them. Uh, they wanted me to talk to them, and I wouldn't. Some I didn't even know existed had a crush on me, and most of it was that situation where I didn't know they existed, and they had a crush on me, and they were upset because I didn't know they existed. They didn't know how to make me know they existed without embarrassing themselves, which eventually they did. Uh, but by then it was too late. So, uh, but I retired in '99, so I didn't work anymore since I haven't worked since '99, and so I didn't the subway thing wasn't a problem for very long, you know, and driving into the city wasn't a problem very long, but it was a problem, and it was an issue. And even when I worked in the city, in the offices that I worked in, I had problems with girls and trying to pick me up and stuff, and you know, it wasn't it wasn't because I'm gay or something. I'm not, but uh, I had a girlfriend, and I wouldn't cheat on her, and they were very mad about that. And I wore a wedding ring, which really wasn't a wedding ring. It was like one of those male rings, your typical male ring. Doesn't look like a wedding ring at all. But I wore it on the wedding ring finger, and Girls would ask me if I'm married. And I wouldn't lie to them. I would say, no, I'm not married. Like, well, you're wearing a wedding ring. Well, you're wearing a ring on the finger. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to deter some people. And they would get mad at me because they were interested in me because I was married. When you're married, you attract more women than you would like. And they were interested in me because I was married, or they thought I was married. And when they found that I wasn't married, they weren't as interested anymore. And when they found that I was lying, it, not a good way to start off a relationship. But that was the whole idea of the ring. I didn't want a relationship. I had a girlfriend, so I was trying to hide, trying to blend in and not be available. So it was a problem. And I've lost jobs. When I worked in the city, I lost jobs because of the women and how they felt about me. And they would cry in the office and cause a lot of problems. And had several offices, many offices. It wasn't just one office, it was many. And the guys didn't like me either because the girls liked me. So it was kind of weird. I know what George Clooney goes through, and not to his level, of course, but I got a taste of it, and I wouldn't want it. Uh, it's just not bad to my wife or my girlfriend or whoever I'm dating at the time. Uh, but if they're gonna date me, they kind of take that on. They know it's part of the terrain. So, but that's not why I did this video. I wanted to do this video to say that like a moose. A moose in the wild doesn't chase. He just wants to sit around and eat grass all day and get fat. And believe me, they get very fat. And he just wants to sit around and eat his grass and go in the lake and all that stuff and do what mooses do. And now the wolves are hungry and they don't eat grass and they don't eat leaves and trees like the moose. The moose has grass and leaves and branches and everything else that it eats all around it. Everywhere it looks is grass and there's trees and leaves. So it has no problem. It has no care in the world. It's in Eve. Yeah, the Garden of Eden is the moose paradise. And the wolf, on the other hand, uh, is a chaser. It chases down its food. It hunts its food. It has to survive. You know, and now it hunts moose, but it's selective. The the wolf knows how to find, uh, let's say, a lame moose, one that has a problem with its leg or has an injury in its leg, and they can look at the footsteps, the footprints in the sand and the dirt, or they can smell blood, and they know that this moose's days are numbered. Now that's the moose they're gonna track. They're gonna go after. Now the good, healthy moose that doesn't limp, doesn't bleed, they don't mess with that moose at all. Okay? They say we'll get you another day, but not today. But the one that's limping, they're going for him. Now they're not gonna attack him like because a moose is really big compared to a wolf. Even a pack of wolves is not that dumb. But what they do is they chase them. They don't make them run. They just let the moose know that they're there. And the moose knows it's lame. The moose knows it has a problem. And the moose knows its days are numbered. And it knows it's got this pack of wolves following it. So that's even a more icing on the cake to say my days are numbered, you know. And so it won't relax, it won't sleep, it won't lay on the ground like it would if it was a healthy moose and didn't have a pack of wolves following it. It wouldn't act like a healthy moose. It would act like a sick moose. And continually walking, continually moving, And if you have a bum leg, there's no way to fix it. There's no way to get better. And the wolves know that. The wolves push them. The wolves don't let them relax. The wolves don't let them stop. And the pressure of the wolves being on the moose wears on the moose as well and makes the moose weaker. And so eventually the moose just can't walk anymore, lays down and pretty much gives into the wolves. The wolves just go up and bite its throat and call it a day and start feasting. But it's not really a much of a fight. And if there is a fight, it doesn't last very long. Um, and so the moose is not a chaser. The wolves are. And like I said, if if the moose is healthy, the wolves won't mess with it. And me, I'm a healthy moose. And the wolves, they come around, they smell, they look, and say, we don't want to mess with him. We don't want to mess with him. They'll come back another day. And they come back, and they smell, and they look. Not today. We're going to keep going. And the same you can say about lions and zebras. I mean, nobody chases a lion, and the lions chase the zebras. The zebras don't chase the lion. Uh, but again, with the lion, they go after the young zebras and the old and lame zebras. But the healthy zebras, male or female, the lions, they might make them run and all, but they're not hunting them. They're not looking for them. They're not on their dinner plate for that night. And so the healthy zebras, they just want to eat the grass, have their babies, and stuff like that. So it's the same as the moose. Uh, the lions don't follow a zebra till it collapses because they're a little bigger and more equally matched, and a lion can take down a zebra. But it's just, but that's not the point. The point is when you're healthy and you don't chase, people chase you. You know, George Clooney doesn't chase. He doesn't have to. They chase him. And he caught what I would call a very nice girl. I think his wife is very nice. She works for human rights. She's a lawyer. I'm not really happy that she's a lawyer. I don't like lawyers. I have no use for lawyers. I wouldn't marry a lawyer. But you know, uh, at least she's not a prosecutor. She's a human rights lawyer and civil rights. So that's one thing. And somebody like George Clooney, he's surrounded with lawyers all his life. Every contract, every manager, everybody he's ever dealt with has probably had a law degree. You know, so it's not very far fetched. The point is, don't chase, don't chase. The people that work 8 hours a day, work for probably $10 an hour, they're chasing money. They're chasing money, and when you chase money, you can never have enough. You can never have enough. And like with George Clooney, he's got money, but he don't chase money. He don't chase money. I mean, I don't think a lot of his acting jobs that he does is for the paycheck. I think he does it because he likes to act. He likes being part of the scene, and gets a high out of that. But he's got money, and he don't need money. And it's just well, and I'm not saying like rich people. I think Elon Musk chases money. I don't think he can ever have enough. That's why he's a trillionaire now. because he's not happy with $1 trillion. He wants $2 trillion, and if he ever gets $2 trillion, he'll want $4 trillion. And he'll just never have enough. And I don't think George Clooney wants to be a trillionaire. I don't think he has any aspirations or desires to do that. And I think if he did have a lot of money like that, he would give most of it away to charity. Now, if you look at Elon Musk gives nothing away to charity at all. There is no hospital with his name on it. There is no uh, university with a building with his name on it. He could have his own university, and he don't. He don't care to have charity. Charity is not in his heart because he doesn't have a heart. And you know, a lot of people that chase money don't have a heart. Their heart is money. You know, in God we trust, and that's what they live by. That's their motto. You know, where I think like a George Clooney does have a heart, and he was brought up rich, he had a rich family, and so he wasn't brought up with the lack mentality like a lot of people are. And when you're brought up with a lack mentality, you can never have enough. You're always lacking. You know, it's like the people that went through the depression. If your grandmother went through the depression, and they would, they would get a tin can of cookies, and when the cookies were gone, they would save the tin can and put nails in it, or keep something in the tin can, and they would use the tin can and never throw away the tin can. And that's the basis of a lot of your hoarders. They always, oh, I can find a use for that. Just a lack mentality. They can never release. They can never throw away. They don't. And if they get another tin can of cookies, they eat the cookies, and they keep the tin can. You know. And you know, I'm not trying to pick on those people. I'm not trying to say what they do is wrong. I'm just pointing out the lack mentality. I do it myself. I have a tin can of cookies right there. I just finished it, and I'm trying to think, what can I use that tin can for? My grandmother went through the depression. She poisoned my mind. But I don't chase money. I don't. I'm not poisoned in that way. I don't. I hated my grandmother for what she did, and she did to my mother, and she did to my family members by poisoning their minds with a lack mentality. They have a bad back, and they'll bend over on the ground and pick up a penny. It's just like, oh, what are you thinking? What are you doing? You know, it's just the mentality is just beyond the pale. Uh, so you know, if I have money and I need it, I mean, I don't work and I don't want for anything. I have plenty of clothes, plenty of food. I just had a cheeseburger with mushrooms and I made myself. I don't eat at McDonald's or any fast food. I don't order Italian. I don't order Chinese food. Uh, it's all crap. It's all chemicals. It's crap. It's, your dog won't eat McDonald's. Why do you? You know, so that doesn't tell you something. If your dog won't eat it, that should tell you something. Uh, but it's just the poisoning of our society. You know, I have a picture of the 70s where it was a picture of the beach. And it was taken in the 70s. I don't know what year, but it was in the 70s. And everybody on the beach was skinny. They were all talking to each other. Nobody had a tattoo. Nobody had a cell phone. Uh, they were playing beach ball. Uh, they were all enjoying themselves. Uh, didn't see any beer cans or beer bottles. I'm sure there were some, but it's just a whole different life, whole different mentality. Now if you took that picture, they'd be fat, they'd have tattoos all over them, They wouldn't be talking to each other. They'd all be on their phone. Nobody be playing beach ball, and everybody would have a beer in their hand, or not so much a beer, but a coffee, you know, or Coca-Cola, And if you go in the supermarkets, compared to what 1970, everything in the supermarket is artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, artificial. If you buy flounder, it's probably not flounder, it's something else, and they just call it flounder, you know. So everything is fake these days, and you wonder why people look fat, and I don't, but uh, it's just a weird world. But don't chase. Let people chase you. Let money chase you. I know it's hard, and you're going to be poor. You're going to have a time when you're bored. You're going to have a time when you don't have a girlfriend. Because you can't accept, if girls chase you, then you can't accept every girl that comes to you because that's not right. And uh, you don't want to send that kind of precedence, you know. I mean, George Clooney would say, I'm just picking on George Clooney right now, but, you know, he got all the girls, but you don't hear about him being with a lot of girls. You know, if he was, he kept it quiet. You know, and you have to have some self-respect, some dignity to yourself, and you can't be with all the girls. You know, even if you physically can be or uh, socially can be, but you can't. It's not right. You don't want the girl that would be happy to have you, knowing that you've been with 100 girls. You don't want that girl. So, if you want the good girl, you want the right girl, you have to say no to all the bad girls and no the girls you aren't interested in, and live a life of honesty. And and it's hard because I'm not saying these girls that are coming after you are ugly or anything like that. I'm sure you would find them attractive, but you can't be with all of them. I don't care who they are. And you have to wait until you find the right one, and God in the universe will send you the right one. You'll know when you meet the right one. You'll know within an instant. You'll know it's the right one. And if you have a list of 100 girls that you've been with, that right one's going to disappear. It's going to go right through your hands like water, and you're going to be very upset, and you won't be able to get her back. And you can't erase those 100 girls you were with out of her memory. And you don't want that. You don't want that. So save yourself some trouble.